Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's not a bad day. It's 67 degrees out, not beach weather yet. The humidity is 44%, and the wind is 5.9 miles an hour, although I don't feel that here. And that's the good thing about the path I take through the trees. It doesn't cause that wind sound that prevents you from hearing me, presuming I'm saying something worth listening to, or at least enjoyable, or faintly remarkable. Anyhow, Holly and I got a chance today to go out and visit some nice places and drink a little wine. And so here I am on our road. I think we have to spend a few minutes talking about the corrupt cryptography con, which is actually being wielded by our public president for his private profit, and it seems to me like a thinly veiled way of getting around finance laws and being paid off with favors and millions of dollars for what Trump will do in exchange. Nor is this a question of my imagination that the people who contributed to his crypto magic have said so. And here in Loudoun County, where I am, that's also where his golf course is, and where he feted all those millionaires who came from around the world any way they could to be with Trump the other day. And so let's talk a little bit about cryptocurrency, because most of us don't have a stake in it. If you've done something with Bitcoin, well, that's different, and there are a whole variety of ways. But get this, there was a bill proposed in the Senate called the Genius Act. Isn't that beautiful? And it passed in the Senate. And the Genius Act basically provides that there has to be a thing they'll call stable coins. And these are crypto assets guaranteed by other assets, say the US dollar. Now, let me make sense out of this. Trump, for example, he created a company called World Liberty Financial. And he once decreed that crypto was corrupt and dangerous and highly risky. But he embraces it now for his personal profit and power. Now, the world basically says this cryptocurrency will foster scams and sanction evasion and could replace the dollar. So what's the big deal about it? The big deal is that at the risk of compromising the United States dollar, money is exchanged directly between people without a middleman like a bank. Now, does that sound like you're free of regulation? Yes, I think so. Now, if you wanted to look at what an historic Republican or Federalist would say today, ask yourself if Hamilton would be for eliminating a middleman bank. And I think not. And I mean, he suffered some amazing embarrassment conceding an affair when those suspected him of financial corruption, of which there was no evidence. So he would rather shame himself and keep his word as to the value of the bank and what he was doing publicly than allow the question to be unanswered. And people thought it destroyed his strength after that politically. So crypto is on the line, and it allows Trump, who's violating all sorts of other provisions, including the notion of getting something while president, an emolument as it's called. Now the White House press office, they say, oh, this is just personal. This is not his public person. Well, that's a lot of nonsense. How do you divide the two? Particularly when his speech, as best we can find from the outside, was about a whole variety of public issues. And he refuses, as would be required under campaign finance laws, to tell us who offered these funds. The notion that sunshine is a disinfectant to misconduct. Now, that notion only works, however, if we require people to have a reckoning, to suffer the consequences of what they do when it's corrupt. But we're living in a kind of high-tech Wild West time in America in which corruption out there in the open, misconduct in terms of lies and self-aggrandizement and profit aren't called on. And why? Well, because in part we have those justices on the Supreme Court that at any time unpredictably go with Trump, who brought them to the dance and put him on the Supreme Court. And that's 3 of them, but 6 of them are in agreement. So 6-3 gives them a big leg up. They still do have Trump judges, and there are sections of the country that will do what he wants. But it's more like a mob family creating this whole thing with cryptocurrency, ignoring the fact that it was begun a few days before his inauguration, and it crashed, and a lot of people lost a lot of money because of it. And so here we are now, and I think these people are glad to give the money, but I'm not sure that Trump understands how to make it into something that he can use other than a corrupt press release about how he's doing it personally, when in fact he's really doing it as president and wouldn't be paid a dime otherwise. So this is it's not personal, because he's selling the office. And again, it's not me saying this. The people who were attending the function with the protesters outside calling on the corruption, one from Korea said that he was there because he expected to be, he didn't say taken care of, but he considered it more like a fundraiser that he was attending when he attended the thing with Trump. Now, Trump has got his fingers and is messing them around in every other pie. Is this a plum pie? And another example is he's trying to tell Apple, for example, if they don't move their business from India to America, there'll be a tariff that they suffer. Where does that come from? We have an example of the atmosphere that we live in. A medium without ethics, without respect for the Constitution and the law, without decorum, without class, frankly, underwriting by all of these factors a march toward a monarchy. No wonder the world looks at us and scratches their head and wonders what effect the loss that we're suffering here will have on them. And so this is something to keep in mind. When we talk about anti-Semitism and violence, how does that come about? Now, some say, oh, it's obvious how it comes out. No, it's not obvious. If you think about the failure of the steps by which we get to violence and anti-Semitism joined at the hip, even by strangers, not launched from one party or another, but they're doing it. And it's because when you don't have a forum of law, when you don't make the adjustments as part of your system of government, you invite first chaos, and when that's not effective, you invite violence. Now, part of me believes that Trump would have us have this chaos, large as possible, so that it could lead to violence and he could suppress it and declare martial law. Everybody knows this formula. Could it happen? Well, it's not unbelievable given everything else that's happened. It appears to be going in that direction. There's never been, I think, a revolution that has occurred peacefully. At some point or other, it becomes violent, and it may become liberal, and often there's a reaction against it. It pushes it back. It becomes more militaristic, more forceful, more denial of liberty, and so forth. We're in that category of possibility. Are we there yet? No. And one of the reasons is because we talk back. And the best example of this is what you or I and many others do on steroids when a person like Springsteen, who's recognized as a balanced fella, very popular, songs that people love, and he finally decides to stand up as a person who's been telling us stories that we've embraced over the years. So in a way, we speak in one way, but he is who we are. When we speak out, and when he speaks out with a larger megaphone, with the ability he has to think and speak poetically, and how that affects the public dialogue. Now, we know he's effective by the fact that Trump has tried to silence him. Oh, go stick, continue with your singing, make fun of his physical appearance, do whatever you want. But Springsteen has a consistent profile as a man we enjoy, we respect, and we trust. And among the things he said that we've been talking about is the notion that we have a majority of our elected official representatives failing to protect the American people from the abuses of an unfit president and a rogue government. That's what's missing from our public dialogue. We elected these people. They have the direct responsibility and obligation, took an oath for it, run around talking about it. But when push comes to shove and it's time for them to speak out against the tyranny at hand under Trump, they go silent. This is no time for cowardice. This is every time to embarrass people into their leadership role. And we can all write their epitaph now, except that won't do us any good if our liberty's been constrained forever under the tyranny of a dictator, including one hardly beneficent and quite cruel, Trump. So those are a couple of thoughts I have today, and I say them from our cathedral of trees, wonderfully green, pleasantly sounding, and good for the heart and soul. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.